GameStop's stock soar to astronomical numbers, going from $2 billion to $24 billion in a matter of days. That's according to the New York Times. Now, joining us to help us understand what happened is Managing Partner, Chief Investment Officer at Momentum Advisors, Allan Boomer. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, Allan, what happened here?
This is a really interesting story. This is when you have the collusion of multiple events. So basically, you had the rise of social media, which has been happening for years, plus the rise of a platform called Robinhood, which is a platform for trading stocks. It's a brokerage firm, but it's a little different. It's really designed for millennials. It's designed to be really easy to use. It's through an app. And what they've done is they allow for free trading to really make investing more available for more people. And then so you have on social media a platform called Reddit, where people can go online and really talk about anything they want to talk about. And so a group of investors on Reddit decided that they wanted to kind of stick it to the man. They wanted to make an investment that would sort of be contrary to a popular trade that was happening on Wall Street. There were hedge funds that were making wagers that GameStop would go down in value, and they would profit as that stock went down. Well, on Reddit, these investors got together and said, let's all come together and buy this stock. Let's make this stock go up, up, up. And in doing so, the stock has rallied, and the people on the hedge fund side who were making a wager that the stock would go down have lost their shirts. And in fact, in order for them to close out their trades, they had to go out and buy more GameStop stock. And so the combination of what happened on Reddit and the hedge fund guys trying to get out of their trade caused that stock to really skyrocket. Like you mentioned, 10x type of movement. This is the type of movement that typically happens over decades. It never happens in a matter of weeks. And again, it's this notion of all of these elements combining all at once. And the scary thing is that now Robinhood yesterday had to get involved and say, you know what? We need to halt trading. No more buys on GameStop. No more buys on AMC, the movie theater chain, which also went up by a ton, using the same types of dynamics. And it caused that stock to drop by 50% yesterday. Both of those stocks dropped by more than 40% in a day. And it just kind of shows what happens when bubbles occur. And this is certainly an example of a short-term phenomenon that is unusual in the stock market.
Now, Allan, is the Security Exchange Commission involved? Is this legal?
Well, this is the kind of gray area, right? Like it's not legal for let's say I was a celebrity. I was someone with a lot of followers. Like 50 Cent got in trouble for this a few years ago. He went onto a social media platform and said, hey, buy this stock. And meanwhile, he had already bought the stock, and he was hoping that the stock would go up so that he could dump shares. He's one person who had a major influence. This is a bunch of little people, right? This is a bunch of little people coming together. And so is it legal? It's a gray area because, typically it's easier to pin blame if there was one person who did this. Because it's so many people, it's kind of a gray area because, again, the folks on the Robinhood side are folks who say, the small traders are the ones who say, well, the big boys do this all the time. They're talking about their trades. Maybe it's over cocktails, maybe it's over a cigar. And what's the difference with us coming out here to do it? So I do think the regulators will get involved because this sort of action is not really good long run for investors because there's someone who got in late. Someone invested, 2 days ago, and their investment dropped by 50% in one day, and that's difficult. Someone's going to get hurt when things like this happen.
Speaking of sticking it to the man, as you said earlier, was this some type of a tactic to teach Wall Street a lesson?
I believe it was. I think, there's this view that that Wall Street has been taking advantage of people for a long time. And, some of the hedge fund traders, like in the public equity market, these hedge fund traders, they have to publish the stocks that they own and the stocks that they've made investments that are designed to profit if the stocks go down. And so there were some folks who looked up that information, who saw that there were companies who would really stand to lose a lot if those investments were to go the wrong way. And so they specifically targeted some of these funds. And sometimes it went even worse. It went further than the trades. A few of these hedge fund managers had personal attacks. People reached out to their personal cell phones and their homes and targeted their children. So absolutely, there was a little bit of animosity. There was a little bit of, not just hitting your wallet, but also attacking you personally. That certainly has happened this week.
Do you recommend Black people rally around a product to possibly create wealth like this?
I'm all for creation of wealth, especially in our community. I just don't think it happens like this. It is, when you look at the stock market, in the long run, do good profit, right? When the companies are developing products that are innovative, products that the market wants, right? And GameStop is one of these companies that's it was on its way out. Like, a lot of the brick and mortar retailers have struggled to pay their rent, have struggled to keep up with the internet, right? And so, yes, I do want to see Black investors, Black people, my people, come together and make investments, but I'd rather see it in investments in companies that are actually going to make a good profit. And I don't know if GameStop is that stock.
All right, I guess my last question for you is, can you give us any suggestions on the companies that we should invest in?
Absolutely. So my big thing is invest in companies that like invest in things where you're spending your money, right? Like there are so many companies that have been profiting off of us for years, and we don't own a stake in those companies. I mean, many of us use iPhones. Apple is a stock that's been an outstanding stock to own for the last 15 years. And it's one, if you're already spending money with them, why not own a share? You might be buying Nikes for your kids or for yourself. Why not take a look at that stock? Or Starbucks, where you buy your coffee. Again, I'm really big on buying the companies of the stock that you own. Buying stock in the companies where you spend money. And, one stock that I think is overlooked today is Target. Target's a company that, a lot of us shop at. And, that stock happens to pay a really strong dividend, and it's considered cheap relative to other companies that are trading at much higher prices. So I'd certainly suggest look at those three stocks.
Well, thank you so much, Chief Investment Officer at Momentum Advisors, Allan Boomer. Thank you for joining us this morning, sir. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.